Good day and welcome to TED. My name is Bongseni and I'm your host. This is a show where we get to dive deeper into educational conversations in a quest to answer the big question, why education? Why do we do what we do? Why do we create the resources that we create, and how education impacts our lives? Well, to answer that big and crucial question, we are joined in studio by the gorgeous and phenomenal creative who is a social media officer at Ubongo, Olonothando. Sisi, welcome to TED.
Thank you so much, Swangseni.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Let's get straight into it.
Yes.
Education is a big part of our lives,
Yes.
and we all love to hear about education, but some of us always run away from the conversations that are related to education.
Yes, yes.
What does education mean to you?
Sure. To me, education is empowerment. Education is empowerment. Education is knowledge. Various kinds of knowledge. So education is knowledge and empowerment. I think without even saying many things, empowerment and knowledge.
How did you get to a point where you understand the impact of what education can do for you?
Yeah.
As you grew up, did you think you were going to end up working for a company that does educational resources or be so impacted so much about education?
I never in my wildest dreams. In fact, now when I was young, grade 1, my mom used to chase me around the house to get me to go to school. Never wanted education.
You're not the only one.
I didn't want it. Because back then, there was no fun in education. So now what brought me to it, of course, having children, opened up my eyes to the concept of education, because I'm interested in what the children are learning and what is it that they are, how will their future be impacted by what they are learning, you understand? So,
sure.
And that's what brought me, that's what drew my interest in education, because and I'm interested in who they will become, but how will they be equipped to become who they should become, you understand? So that all boils down to education. Hence my interest in education.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what has been some of your inspiration in you understanding that now as a parent, whom when your parents told you about education was like, I'm not ready. Seeing where you are now, what inspired you to say, now I have kids, I need to take up this role? Because not every parent thinks the way you're thinking.
Yeah, I look at the opportunities. Looking at my life, for instance, I studied a totally different course. I was in a different career altogether.
International relations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How different is that from digital marketing, for example?
Sure.
So I saw that for me to jump from the one degree or what I studied to now evolve with the times, I needed to be educated about the new subject or the new industry I'd get into. So I saw there that education is in order for us to tap into any industry, our children to get into any industry, they have to be educated, not just about education as in general, but to be given knowledge about various industries so that they are able to compete and get into the industries. So that's when I saw education, is really important.
Sure.
You have to tap into the knowledge and understanding of the industries, and without education you really cannot.
It's investment.
It's
and
investment.
I think, as you said, that education is about impact and empowerment. You as a parent had to be empowered first to understand that I need to take responsibility and lead my child.
Yes.
A lot of parents during COVID-19, they were forced to become teachers. How did you cope with that situation?
Hey man, it's true. It's true. Fortunately for me, I was already taking care of abantwana. I had already assumed that position. So that's, I think, how I was very close to the understanding why education is important, because I was raising the kids when they were young, while they were still small, right?
Sure.
That's I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but I saw, because I was in close proximity with abantwana, and I saw that these kids are like sponges. The information that they will know about the world, it depends on what I tell them and how well I equip them. You understand? So I really took it seriously, education and not just for abantwana bam, because our kids interact with other kids. So my wish for my children, I not choice but to wish the same for other kids, because our kids, all of our kids will compete together, interact together. So you don't want your child to grow up in a world where they are
absent in what's happening globally.
You understand? Yes. So not just my kids, like I'm saying, but I have this desire for abantwana in South Africa in general, because we're also competing as nations, as states. You understand? So yeah.
Sure.
Knowledge, empowerment,
Yes.
to compete in the global stuff, the global spaces.
Yes.
To be relevant.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's important. For those who do not know, Ubongo is Africa's leading edutainment company that creates fun, localized, and multi-platform educational media that then reaches millions of families through, diverse and easily accessible technologies. How did you get to be part of such a great company that is globally acclaimed?
Yeah, great questions, Bongseni. Like I said, having children exposed me to the world of education.
Yes.
So because I was so fascinated about what my children are learning, I came across Ubongo through one of our shows, Akili and Me. So
Yes.
my son then was still young. And what fascinated me about Akili and Me was how well they were able to put content together for kids to understand and to grasp. As a result, my son, before the age of 1, he was able to count.
Sure.
That blew my mind, and I knew, of course, it was Akili and Me, because he would, sing the numbers the way he heard,
Yes.
and the representation element of it, of course, was for me the biggest bonus. Abantwana bethu seeing themselves represented, but not just in a sad and impoverished way, but rather in an empowered way. You're seeing a cartoon character that looks like you,
Yes.
counting to 10,
Yes.
doing
Yes.
the ABCs.
Yes.
So I don't know if kids are able to see that representation, that this cartoon looks like me. I'm not really sure about the psychology about that, but I think in hindsight, when they look at it, or perhaps it registers somehow that it's natural to watch someone that looks like you.
Yes.
Maybe there's a kind of a confidence that builds up. We don't really know, or perhaps psychologists know how kids register identity. But what drew me to Ubongo was the representation and the way that they make education fun and relevant, you understand?
It's relatable.
Very relatable as well. So that drew me to it. And when there was a post of it, on the internet, and I thought it was too good to be true. I was like, how can it be? It's like saying Tagalani Sesame, you're a big fan of Tagalani Sesame, and they say, hey, by the way, we're hiring.
Yes.
So I was like, sure thing, let's do it, It was relevant. It was relevant to me, and it was, it really was what I wanted, because I wanted to be hands-on. My partner and I, of course, wanted to be hands-on with the education of abantwana,
Yes.
because we know that you literally have access to all industries if you have access to education, even just the foundational, stages of education. You'll be able to adapt and learn any kind of, subject, as long as the foundation is solid. Your
Yes.
educational foundation is solid. And that's what I found at Ubongo. Just as a spectator, as a parent,
Yes.
and now also as an employee, I see that they really equip the foundation, educational foundation of children, so that they are able to comprehend information
Yes.
and learn, because you really learn. Even now as Amanda Badala, we are still learning. But if the foundational phases of your education were not that solid, kuba a little bit difficult to grasp concepts and learn new concepts in this evolving world. I mean, look at COVID just came, took out industries, and some of us had to reinvent ourselves.
Yes.
But that foundational element, your education, enables you to be able to learn any subject course that you need to equip yourself to be relevant in the next era. Because you know how eras are. We're now in another era. We're evolving.
Yeah.
So you have to, adapt.
I like that, because you speak directly about the vision of Ubongo.
Yeah,
And when I read of the vision of the company, it speaks about the educational foundations, critical thinking, as well as positive mentality or mindset that has to be created through these various resources. How do you guys shape that? How do you make sure that whatever that we are creating fits into those 3 pillars, foundations of education, critical thinking, and a positive mindset?
Yes, we've got a great team, as Bong saying. We've got a great team of researchers, of teachers who help us curate this content, and we also get feedback from the caregivers and the parents. We don't just create content that we research, and we do research, but we also bear in mind the people we're doing the research for, the content for, which are the children and the caregivers. So we get the feedback from the parents, and then we say, all right, great, let's hone in on this feedback. Let's hone in. For instance, the new segment now that we have on one of our shows, Akili and Me, it's called Words and Sounds. Yes. That came about as a result of feedback from parents, you understand? So we curate our content in collaboration with the caregivers and the parents, and of course our team of researchers, to make sure that we are relevant and we hit the nail on the head.
You know what I'm
saying?
I like that. I mean, I've been so much exposed into your content, from Ubongo to Akili and Me, Family, into the series that you guys did on COVID-19 that you've packaged. But one thing that strikes me, even now, I've been exposed to Words and Sounds, about 4 episodes or 5 episodes, and I'm loving the approach. More than the approach for me, it's also the fact that even languages, how do you guys blend languages to say we want to accommodate different people that speak different languages, and 2, the fact that your content can also be customized to learners with disability. How do you guys do that?
So part of the team and the researchers that we have, they really play a big part with that. But most importantly, Sibongiseni, we've got this vision, right? This Pan-African vision where we want to bring, we want Africa to be on par with where we are going. So we're leaving no child behind. So whether Rwanda, Malawi, Uganda, Gambia, we leave no child behind. So we have to curate and be specific to those countries, those children in those countries. Because some parents prefer to learn in their home languages.
True.
You understand? So we have to make provision for that, because our African languages are also still valid. Of course, the English being the international, well, not really international, but, English, widely spoken, but we also do want to capture the essence of your homeland, the home language, you understand? Not to lose that, because at the end of the day, we are Africa and we are pro-Africa, you understand? So
are we going to be seeing some Xhosa coming through as well?
Yes, for sure. Because you hear this ongoing conversation about languages and how to bring those languages into schools. For instance, now we didn't grow up learning Xhosa esikolweni, mainly because of the places we lived in. Me specifically, so I'd learn Afrikaans, not a bad language because it's still relevant, but it would have been great, of course, to learn Xhosa. So yes, we will bring the content to South Africa, and we've got some content in Setswana, isiZulu. Of course, we're going to focus more on that content. Bring out more content in those specific languages to cater for the households that are not, first language is not English, for instance. First language is the home language, which is probably a general normal thing. So we gotta cater for those, you understand?
And I think as I ask you that question, one thing that comes to my mind is I'm being convicted to say it's easy for one to say, why aren't you guys doing 1, 2, 3, and lose the focus of funding, because to create these resources requires a lot of funding. How do you guys get to fund the work that you do, and how can people come to play and say we want to be part of this?
So we've got really great partners that we've partnered with, and great organizations that really buy into the vision and the mission. So we do get those partnerships and those donations. We've got on our website, there's an option to donate. We really do welcome donations, because like you mentioned, this work and this content needs funding, you understand, to reach as much children as we want across Africa, to a point where we are able to be part of Africa's agenda, 2063, because there's an agenda, an African agenda, right? About moving Africa away from focusing now on leaving apartheid and fighting for independence, to now wanting to be included in the social and the economic developments of the world. So that shift, is part of the 2063 agenda. So we are part of that. Ubongo is part of that agenda. Where our aim is in conjunction in the future, conjunction with that agenda.
Yes.
To be part of this, to be included in the social and the economic development. Leave no child behind.
Sure.
You understand? Yeah.
In the midst of an Africa that is faced with so much of socioeconomic factors and anything that you can imagine.
Yeah.
Your mission speaks about you guys being able to or wanting to reach about 440 million lives, changing them through your resources. How accessible are these resources?
Yes, our resources are very accessible. That's one of the things that Ubongo, focused and really wanted to. What's the point of trying to bring Africa on par with the digital era if we do not have, we do not implement, the technologies or the tools to reach Africa? So we reach our audience, our households, we reach over 24 million households per month. So we're able to reach those numbers via telephones, cell phones, mobile phones, smartphones, radio, television. Because we've noticed, research has shown that there are a lot of mobile users in Africa, and the number is still increasing. Matter of fact, there are more mobile users than there are people who can read in Africa. So with that understanding alone, we are able to tap into the resources and the tools that people already have to now bring in the information, to bring in the content that they will use to help assist in educating the kids. For instance, we've got a system called IVR, if I remember correctly. You don't need a smartphone for that system, and it's an interactive system where you dial a code, your country's code, and you'll get content. You'll get educational content on your phone, and it works in partnership with the service providers of the country. So you dial a code, and you get information, you get educational information. So you don't need to have a smartphone. If you don't have a TV, you don't need to have a TV. If you don't have a radio, you don't have to have a radio. We access, we use what you have to reach those numbers of audience, to be able to provide the educational content, even additional, because you see how it is in classes. Sometimes it's overcrowded. There's one teacher it's supposed to be one teacher for every 35 kids, but in other conditions in Africa, we see that the kids are double that amount. You understand?
True.
So what our resources are able to do is provide that additional support, additional educational support. So when the kids come back from home, the caregivers form a big part of our mission too. That's why we say we are collaborating with them.
Yes.
So a child comes back from school, Uma has this IVR on a phone, and they provide additional content for their kids, so that if Mdana Mhlambi missed a lesson in class because of many conditions that we're struggling with, one being transport, by the way, because if you have to walk, let's say 3 kilometers before you get to school, by the time you get there, you're hungry and tired. So being able to...
And then you have weather conditions.
Sanitation problems. So some kids don't get to school. So we really are filling in the gap. Of course, there's a lot of work to be done, but really we do fill in the gap, and we say, you know what? Your child doesn't have to be left behind. Here's content, especially with our other brand, Ubongo Kids. We focus on the whole STEM situation, science, technology. So a child comes back from school, we've got that additional information, additional learning resource for them, you understand, to equip Abantwana Bethu to be able to compete, to be able to empower themselves and their communities. Because some children are from homes where our mama no dada, maybe didn't even get to go to school. So really, other kids are really the hope for their families, you understand? True. So to equip them against all odds with what they have, with the tools they have, really is the biggest mission and vision, for us as Ubongo.
We can have this conversation forever. I just want to draw it towards the end and understand you now as a social media officer at Ubongo. What does that entail? Someone is watching and saying, I've never heard of such a career. Social media. Does it mean because I always go on Twitter, I can also be a social media officer? Right. What do you do on day-to-day basis? What do you love the most about your job?
Oh man, I love to see the impact. I love to see the impact of what Akili and me specifically, I'm Akili and me, Team Akili and me.
Ooh,
because
I'm Team Ubongo.
You Team Ubongo kids. I'm Team Akili and me, mainly because I'm a parent to that age group.
Yes.
But I enjoy seeing the gratitude, the testimonials, parents talking about, abantwana bethu, this content has helped them.
Yes.
There's one lady who shared a testimonial that was so powerful. Umntana wake is autistic. And she says, for the first time in a long time, her daughter was uttering words that she heard from Akili and me. She's singing along, let her be, na na na. She's singing along. So seeing that stuff, man, is like, this is what it's about. And my desire is that reach can also come here in South Africa. Is Lalini. You know how it is, man. It's not always easy. And education is also not always fun. You know, abantwana when they go to school, and so you will resent education.
And some don't even see a need to
they don't even see a need to go to school, you understand?
Because
now what is that, mom? What is that, dad? You know? So that's one of the things I really enjoy about, being a social media officer, being able to see really firsthand, because we're interacting with the community. On social media, we interact with the community that really engages and watches the content.
Yes.
So you get to hear this is the impact that it has. People ask for videos. People say, hey, please give me videos about mathematics with the Ubongo Kids brand. And you see that, man, this is real life
there.
appetite. And they love the fun element to it. There are characters, there are, you know what I'm saying? So I enjoy being in the forefront of that experience, not forefront in like I'm a big forefront as in I'm seeing the testimonials and I'm seeing the impact and I'm like, wow,
firsthand,
and that desire as an African, I desire that the impact reaches more and more children, you understand, more kids. To be able to empower themselves, but not in a, oh my gosh, in a fun way, you know, because when you learn in a fun way, you are most likely to remember what you learned. Even us as adults, it's when something is fun, you are most likely to remember it. Yeah, because we're still kids. Also, the children in us don't die. We really just grow up, but we are still inside.
We are kids.
We are kids.
There's
inside.
a kid in every one of us.
We've been practicing these things. Now we're here. Now we're impersonating what we see. Learning should be fun. Learning should be fun, and that's what is so amazing about Ubongo. We learn, but we also have fun.
Sure.
Yes.
I love your job. I'm going to come work with you.
Oh, I love my job. And no, don't come. No.
Well, the big question that everyone wants to hear an answer to is, why education? You could be a social media doing other things, being in politics specifically, maybe, on being in tabloids or on other things.
Yes.
But education, and work for an educational company that produces resources or educational media that reaches out to millions of families and impact different lives. Why education out of all things?
Without even thinking too hard about it, dinabantwana. And how I want them to be, I know that through education, they have to go through education. So I want to be part of that. I want to be part of what they learn, not just them, but other kids that they will in life live with.
Sure.
You understand? And like we touched on earlier, education is empowering. Education is it's knowledge.
It's a great investment.
It's a great investment. So I'm big on that because I've got kids. I think if I didn't have kids, no offense, I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't be able to relate with why this is important. You understand? I would, before I thought, maybe education is not that important. I did have those views. Maybe it's not that important because there are people who strive in entrepreneurship without having learned any, gone to formal school. But after,
just there, would you then think it's how it defines success as well? Because most people then lead to a question that you're educated, but let's say you're not working. You're educated, but you don't have money, this and that. So do you think such people would then say education is not important because we're not seeing the value based on how we are defining success?
Yes. Look, I'm not going to say e-education, yes, South Africa or Africa is perfect.
Yes.
Of course, there are, especially now, there's room for improvement. There's room for more relevant content, more relevant courses and subjects. Because if they go to school, they learn, and then when they graduate and leave, they want to be fashion designers. But there was no guidance around that. The subjects at school don't cover, the real world, the stuff that are really out there, you understand? And we are going to be competing in the future, or even now, we're competing with China, Russia, America. So we really have to be on par with our education and the content that we teach our kids. So part of the previous question, why I'm part of education, I really want to be part of that transformation so that our kids compete with Elon Musk. You understand? I don't want our kids to. Yes. They want. Let's be in the boardroom all together.
There.
Yes.
Aim there.
Let's do that. And now we're in digital, so we want all the kids to be equipped. Digital gap, bridge that. Ubongo does that.
While you are at there, I wanted to end there, but there's a question that just came through from our director.
Okay.
And he's asking me to ask you that in the midst of all these resources and information that's there and the learnings that are happening, how does one see what is true and real from what is not? Because it's easy for someone as a parent, a caregiver or educator to say, there's so many resources that are out there, but how do I know that this is well vetted? This is the right thing for me to teach my child?
Yeah, sure. That is a very, very good question. What research should you, how do you know?
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to that, but for me as a parent, taking it, practically, I approach what I feel is relevant. So I think that's why caregivers and parents need to be part of their children's learning, because you also need to be able to serve what is relevant and what is not relevant. There's really the computers don't program what is relevant. They don't do that for us. We as the parents need to be involved and say, I want my child to learn this, I want my child, and that's why we make that emphasis with our brand, that we are also communicating with caregivers and parents, because we are also part and parcel of our children's education. We help pick out the information. We as the adults need to discern what is important and what is not. The computers don't do that for us. Our kids can't choose. So that to answer that question, the parents and caregivers involvement is also necessary, and they have to be involved and say, Mdanam, I would like them to learn this. Mdanam, I would like, you understand? So it also depends on us to make those decisions.
How informed you are as a parent
yes,
or caregiver.
Yes, We also provide tips and information to parents and caregivers as well. To say, approach reading, for instance, like this. Or did you know, parents, that when you read with your child, you help them recognize words, all of that stuff. We really encourage participation, you understand? Because with information, the information age, really there's everything out there. There's a lot of brands. The child won't be able to tell. The parent must be the one that is informed to pick and say, Yazini, I want this from Mdanam. I want. So parents, it's our duty and our role as well to be part, of this development.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
the
time with us.
Thank you, Sponsing.
Guys, you've heard it. This has been a phenomenal conversation that we've been having with Olonothando from Ubongo. We'll share details of what you can get from their website and what resources are available for you. Thank you so much, Olona. This has really been an incredible conversation to have with you.
Thank you so much, Cedric.
And you, as a person at home, you have a responsibility. All of us do have a responsibility to share resources, whatever that we can get out there to change people's lives. You may not have kids like myself, who has my dog, but I do have siblings. I have nephews and nieces. I need to share information. So we'll share the details that you can get about Ubongo and what resources they have. Up until next time on TED Show, goodbye.
Cheers.